So why don't we briefly talk about it? And I guess this is more for, there are some purists who want to see snowflakes. Now, some folks don't care. If it's frozen, it's fun. So although this can be a very serious situation, I thought we'd have a little briefly period of fun. So if you want to see snowflakes, what you want to see is the atmosphere at least from 3,000 to 5,000 feet up, at least below 30 degrees, right? And as you get up toward 10,000 feet, maybe below about 25 degrees. And the reason you see that pink there, or at least you don't see the blue, which is an area where you could have freezing rain or sleet, is because the temperatures all the way up to about 10,000 feet, if they're at freezing, they're just barely at freezing. So what's happening is basically what you're having is more like an ice pellet. When you call sleet more like an ice pellet versus a snowflake.
Oh yeah, it's completely an ice pellet because it was frozen initially, and then it falls through the warm layer, then it melts into essentially a raindrop, and then refreezes again before it reaches the surface. So you don't get that nice looking snowflake. Right. You just get this.
So some folks, if all you care about is seeing something white falling through the street lights at night, then maybe sleet is okay. But that's one of the reasons why, again, for most of us, outside of maybe a flake or two, just as it all comes to an end, if it does get frozen, it's just going to be freezing rain and or sleet, ice pellets.
And I think the hardest thing, not only for this situation, but any type of forecast that involves where that rain or snow line is dependent upon really two things, I think, Tim. The first, you mentioned that surface temperature. If it's 1 or 2 degrees below freezing or above freezing, that can really dictate whether, one, things actually freeze on contact, or two, if you even happen to see snow or sleet, that dictates the type of precipitation that you see. But also the second thing is the temperatures aloft that you also said, 3,000 to 5,000 feet. If it's 1 or 2 degrees warmer than maybe what models were trying to depict, that can totally bust a forecast on what you were anticipating. Or if that, warmer air is a little bit further south or a little bit further north, that can also drag that freezing rain line 10 miles further south than maybe you expected, and can also just kind of very much skew what you happen to see.
Now, I do want to throw something at you for just a second, but first, since you have the winds up, I totally agree with what Ross is saying about the key ingredients. Another ingredient here is the fact that we have the ocean and we have the river, we have the estuaries, and as much as it may seem cold to us, remember the river and the ocean, those temperatures are in the 50s, well above freezing. And so the longer winds stay out of the north and northeast, that is off the ocean, off the estuary, off the river, then that's going to hold those surface temperatures a little bit warmer. Now, I mention that because I promise you 43 years ago, the computer models did a terrible job with that. But the computer models are getting better. And I've talked to Ross about this, that in my opinion, although having weather experience is great, one of the tough things is I go back to how bad the computer models used to be. That is, they didn't handle that warming of the oceans well. And so that's sort of still in my head. They handle that better now. And so at least what I'm wondering in my head as we get closer and closer, and what I'll be watching very closely, is how well do the computer models end up handling that influx of that milder air and those higher dew points, and that wind, if the wind goes right. If you look closely here, it doesn't look like much of a shift, folks, but if that wind goes north-northwest versus north-northeast, that's going to make a big difference in a lot of areas, especially as far as whether it's just rain or freezing rain.